G'day mate and welcome to Capital History with me, Jetty. Today we're going to be covering train tracks. We're going to be covering all the tools you have to build train tracks and also some of the penalties that apply to building different track types. We're also going to be covering some of the advanced techniques when it comes to actually building train tracks as well. So before I get into the video, before I fill your head with a whole bunch of knowledge, I'd just like to ask a very simple favor if I could, and that is of course, can I borrow a like? I'd just like to borrow a like. I like to borrow a like on the video. Not happy with the video, didn't enjoy the video, didn't learn anything along the way, then by all means, you can have your like back. All right, first thing we need to do is, well, we need to have a bit of track to play with. So can I come to, let's start right here. So under the track tools, we have a couple of things. We have obviously the build track tool. We're going to get into a whole lot of more detail on this in a second. We also have the set direction. So set direction, we have a piece of track that's currently heading north. I can click on it once and swap the directions. Now it's heading, say, south. And then I click on it once again, and now it's a bi-directional track. Bi-directional track automatically comes with set exclusive zone. So set exclusive zone means that only one train can be on this track at one time. Also, if I close the tool, you can see it has this blue line down the middle. That means it's a little bit easier to see. And that means you can also see that, well, yes, this is only going to have one train on it and at any one time. Next up, we have set no stop section. So if you take a piece of track and build it across another piece of track, it automatically sets these areas where you do not want a train to stop, obviously, to red. Now you can turn them on and off. I could remove that if I wanted to, and I could remove that, but you might notice the little yellow section stays there. The yellow section stays there because that's this little spot of the track where two trains could violently interact with one another. Not something we really want to have. So, as I said, Capital History automatically marks the tracks for you, but you don't obviously want a train to stop there. You'd also not really like them to violently interact with one another. As you can see, this is a crossing, so there is a high chance that trains could run into one another and violently interact with one another. Up here, we have two pieces of track, which as you can see, they're marked with no stop. But this happened automatically, and yet there's no junction here. That is because they're also marked with a yellow. The yellow, as I said, indicates that two trains could come too close to one another and violently interact with one another. So yellow actually means that trains shouldn't ever, become this close. So only one train, well, trains shouldn't stop here, because if they do stop here, a train on the other side can't get past, because he's going to stop before he runs into his friend. Yep, Capital History trains are smarter than trains in most games. Most other games that will violently interact with one another. Here we'd have, if a train happened to stop here because we removed this little red marker, well, then the other train would just sit here and wait to park, because he knows that if he tries to drive past, he's going to lose the whole side of his loco. And, well, let's just say, the captain of the island might not be impressed when he suddenly has to replace a whole train, a whole bunch of wagons, because somebody did the wrong thing. All right, next up we have a roundabout. Very, very simple roundabout. This has been just built. I haven't done anything. Actually, I have. That's a lie. I need to remove that, please. Cool. Now I haven't done anything. This is how it comes out of the box. So if we bring up our tools, we can see that any spot where those trains might violently interact with one another are automatically marked as no stopping sections. It does mean if you, for argument's sake, had a very, very short train, he could come through the roundabout and park in these very small spots. That is only if he fits between here and here. Now, if you don't want little trains doing that, because you might find it annoying, I don't know, you can always mark these sections as no stop by clicking the start, clicking the end, click the start, click the end. You can also hold down shift to mark a whole section. And that means no trains are allowed to stop in the roundabout. That's probably how you want things set up in life. The other thing you can do is set exclusive zones. As I said, this means that only one train can occupy this area once, which is a little bit different from no stop. I could have 4 trains coming in here. Each of them can be doing a 270-degree turn, as long as none of them stopped in here. They never slowed down, they just came in and went straight back out. But set exclusive zone means only one train at one time. So for argument's sake, if you want to make the right-hand turn sort of a priority line, so only one person could be out here doing this at once, you could mark, say, from here to, nope, I need to go from here back to there. Yeah, and if I remove that, it's very hard to see. It does look like it's all blue. Cool. I could mark this section as blue. This means that, well, if anybody's trying to do this turn, nobody else can be on the roundabout at once. it does sort of give them a priority that they get to go through. It also is going to halt down or slow down your traffic everywhere else on the roundabout. So you'd probably be better just putting a little bypass in, but I'm just trying to show you an example. So last thing I want to cover when it comes to simple track building is heights. So we have a train track at ground level. I have another train track at height number 3, which means I can drive straight over the first track. And then I have another train track at height number 6, which can drive over the top. So you can pass over a set of train tracks every 3 tiles. So that's 0, 3, and 6, or 1, 4, and 8, providing you have 1, 4, and 7, providing you had the ground builds up a little bit. But yes, the point stands. You need 3 tiles worth of height to clear the trains. Also, the same comes with belts and pipes. As long as they're clearing the trains clearing the train tracks by at least 3 tiles, they'll go straight across the top. Last thing we need to cover is modified pillars. Modified pillars lets me, for argument's sake, put a pillar there and remove that one. Can be very, very handy. Can, let you do a few things. So as you can see, if I want to bring this track through, well, there's a pillar in the way. If I move the pillar over a little bit, I can then remove that pillar and I can continue this track straight through. Now, when it comes to rules of pillars, we need to have 15 tiles between one and the next. So if I just start you here, can I put my... No, I want to be at height number 1, and can I put my pillar... let's go with there, and then my next pillar is here. That should be 15 tiles. Okay, can I copy from there to there? Yep, 30, which is 15 tiles away. As soon as I raise you up 1, yeah, you get a pillar at either end. Yep, so you need to have pillars 15 tiles apart. The pillars are 2x2, which complicates the numbers a little bit, but yeah, every 15 tiles you need to have a pillar. Something you need to keep in mind also means that when you're stretching tracks around corners and that sort of stuff, you might need to move the pillars if you want to then interlace other train tracks in and above and through the mess. If you want to play spaghetti with train tracks, I'm not going to stop you. Everybody likes a good steam-based roller coaster tycoon. Yeah. If you've learnt something so far, or you want to see more tutorials on trains, by all means, you should probably hit the subscribe button before we get into, the train tool buttons. So, some of these are going to be self-explanatory, some are not going to be, so let's go through them one by one. I have a track on the left, which is going northbound, track on the on the right, which is going southbound, and every single green marker indicates a spot where I can join in a piece of track and, leave that line. So, if I drag the track over and we go to, can I drag the track to here? And then we'll start with shift. Shift, make sure it's straight, okay? We've used that before with belts. It's pretty self-explanatory, not too complicated. Next one we have is K. So K turns the magnet on and off. So if I didn't want to join the track on the left, I wanted to sort of go through it, I can press K, and that now gives me the chance to, pass through that line rather than join onto it, because that's what I intended to do. All right, next one we're going to do is going to turn the magnet back on. Next one I'm going to look at is control. So as you can see, I have a piece of track that is leaving on the right, heading down, and joining on the left, going up, because that is the direction of those 2 tracks. If I hold control, then it flips things. So I'm now leaving on the left-hand track, heading up, and joining on the right-hand track, going down. And this applies to, your spot where you've clicked. So if I was clicking here and trying to go over here, but this is now an exit line and I don't really want an exit line, I want a join line, I can press the control and that'll flip the track. So now it's a join line rather than a disconnect line. And the same applies on the other side. I can come here and this is going to be automatically joined. If I press control, now it's automatically a leave. All right, next one we're going to talk about is the R and the T. The R and the T are very, very helpful and very, very special. As you can see, I have a green arrow, and it's just going to head the track in this direction, but I don't want the track to go in that direction. I do want the track about here, but I'd like to face, down and to the left. So what I can do is I can press the R or the T button. That changes the arrow from green to like an orange color, and then I can rotate it around. So if I really, really want to go out here, can I start from here again and go to here? As you can see, to get to this point, the automatic pathfinder has said, you can get to here, and we're going to do this. But I want to go down left, so if I press R, it gives me a little bit of a turn, and it redoes the track according to that turn and leaving at that angle. I can spin this around as far as I want. I can also press T to go back the other direction. can be very, very helpful when you're trying to build a, well, tight train network through a factory or something like that, because you didn't plan ahead. It happens to the best of us. I fully understand. All right, next one we have is, well, our F and our J buttons. So F affects the radius of the turn. So as you can see, this is all orange. That is because it's the tightest turn at 14 tiles worth of radius. Can I have a bit of track here, which is a 0 point? Oh, come on, click. And then over to here, and then, whoop. Okay, that's a 14 tile radius. So that is our turn radius. And as you can see, it's marked as orange. If I press F again, then we have a yellow turn radius, which has a lower penalty than the orange turn radius. And then finally, we have a green turn radius, which is now 30 tiles worth of turning, which has no penalty. So something you need to keep in mind that the different turn radiuses have different penalties. The orange one has a penalty of 40, so a train can only go around this corner at a top speed of 40, no faster. The yellow one has a top speed of 60, so they cannot go any faster than 60. And then the green doesn't have a speed penalty at all. If you're using steam trains, you've got to remember that they have a top speed of 65 anyway. So having a top speed penalty of 60 is probably fine for a steam train. Either way, you probably really want to avoid orange turns because they're going to have the highest penalty. In saying that, if it's a small turn, a short turn, if we're coming, say, off the main line and we're doing something like this to get into a siding or something, it's probably okay. The train is going to have to slam on their brakes to go through it, but they're going to pass through it fairly quickly and then they can re-accelerate if needs be. Also, I should mention that even though you're going to lose speed or when going through these corners, if you are starting or going to a station, so the train is either decelerating anyway or it's starting from a stop position, having a max speed of 40 is probably fine because the train is probably not going to reach 40 at the station or leaving the station if you have these corners right next to the station. All right, another thing I want to do very quickly is I just want to confirm those numbers. We have our, well, little train here on the orange corner, and as you can see, his top speed's at 40. And as we're getting faster, he does go through the train station and get a little bit of a speed penalty going through a waypoint station, but that's fine. We have our next train who's on the yellow circle, who has a max speed of 60, and he's going to keep doing that forever. And then we have our last train who's on the green circle, and he has a speed penalty of, well, none. He can fly along at 80 kilometers per hour, not a problem until he runs out of fuel. Because he's going faster, he is going to run out of fuel faster. Yeah, so that's another consideration you might have. All right, next one we're going to have is, well, our J button. So J affects the slope of your inclines and declines. So we can obviously go up and down with the Q and the E button, as we can with belts and all sorts of things. The difference with trains is you have a gradient or a slope that you're going to climb the train at. So also there's a new tool there that says 4. 4 is the current height that I'm trying to get the train to. Can I start with just a tiny bit of track so we have a start point, and then can we go to here? So if I go to height 4, so this is height 4 from where my mouse pointer is. If I drag it up on the hill, it's still at height 4 from my mouse pointer, but we might notice that the tracks have just changed slightly. So can I go from there to, yeah. So this is height 4. If I drag it back to here, well, I have a nice shallow climb, and then here I have a bit of straight track first, and then a much steeper climb, because that's what was required to get me to this position. If I drag out a little bit further to get to height number 4, I can now have the lower incline. All right. Also, the two inclines both have a speed penalty as well. Going up, the orange one has a steeper and a higher penalty. If I go new train and we look at this particular train, you have a 25% grade, being the orange one. You have a max speed of 25, and you're going to run, well, at that speed in this locomotive configuration. If I add more carriages, your max speed goes vastly down. Same applies to if I did a diesel loco instead. You have a going up at 25% grade. You have a max speed of 30. If I add some more wagons, too many wagons, the speed goes down thoroughly. Steam trains are much better at climbing hills than diesel trains are, but diesel trains have a higher speed. Which one you want is going to come for a future video where we talk about train consists and how different trains affect different things. Yeah. Again, future video. All right, so let's go back to this. So we have our two different inclines. We have the orange one, not so good. The yellow one, much calmer and nicer for the train. Hopefully you can keep more speed when going up these. Your max height is going to be 6, and that is 6 according to the pillar. So as you can see, I'm at 6 here. Because I drag up here, the pillars have to be moved further forward, but it means I can climb a little bit higher. And also, I can't get the long one here. No, I can't get the lower incline. Can I force the incline with J? I can force the incline with J. There you go. So if we force the incline, we can, if we force the incline to be limited, then yes, we're perfectly fine. But if I'm trying to get to height number 6 here, we can see that obviously this incline, that's not possible. If I press J again, and I turn on straight, there we go. We can see this is now green because we're reaching our tile. If I press J to force the incline to be lower, well, then it's orange because we're not quite reaching our destination. Can I come to here? Yeah, I think, no, we're still not at 6, we're just short. Can I go down to 5? 5, there we go. We can finally get to 5, but I cannot get to 6, even with the extra boost to the hill and everything else, with the lower incline. If we go back to the steeper incline, well, then I can reach that easily. So it all depends on what you want and what you need. If I just confirm this rail, say here. Next thing I want to talk about is the little markers. So we have the green markers. The green markers are obviously where you can link a train track into. You can't link train tracks on. You cannot link train tracks on a incline. There are some exceptions to that, but general rule of thumb is no. And the other thing you might notice is these white markers. These white markers indicate what level the track is currently. So my biggest reason why I can't link into an incline is the inclines are actually on half levels. So trying to link into one of them is incredibly difficult. But if we come up to a flat piece, we can see that, if my mouse pointer is at height number 4, we can see it lines up with that. If I bring my mouse pointer to... Is there any spot I can get? Can I build a bit of track there. Yeah, that'll do me. Cool. And then can I be down here? Okay, so this is height number 3, and I can see my height number 3 is well below that. And then if I raise it up a little bit and try and keep it still, stop it. I can now see that I would be at height 6, and that lines up with that one. If I'm at height 5, I'm too low. So I can use this to hopefully link into there. Yeah, helps if I'm on the right tile where a train track is actually possible. Height number 6, please, and then into height number 6. I'm building this backwards. It's not helping. Okay, and hold control. There we go. Okay, so I end up with a straight piece of track. Got there in the end. All right, so that's some of the advanced tools. Other thing I want to cover is your angles when it comes to train tracks. So if I start at a 0 point and we drag up, so at 0 degrees, you can have a piece of track. You can also have another one at 22.5 degrees, another one at 45, next one's 67.5 degrees or something, and then 90 degrees. Obviously, that applies all the way around the full circle. One thing that you might not be aware of is when it comes to raising tracks, you can do that at the 0 degree, cannot do it at the 22.5 degree, can do it at the 45 degree, can't do it at the 67 degree, and can do it at the 90 degree angle. So it means if you want to go up, you can only do that at the 0 or the 0 or 45 degree grid, I guess you would call it, because this grid has the ability to go up or down, whereas the 22 degree grid does not have the ability to do any height changes. So that's something else you need to very, very much keep in mind when building your train tracks. You want to avoid this train grid, I guess you could call it, because it doesn't link up to the other one unless they're on the flat. Yeah, that's going to be probably a nightmare for somebody at some stage. All right, the last one I'm going to mention is double penalties. So if we have our train track go, we have no penalties, no things on. So if I want to get you curving and going up at the same time, please. Yeah, that would have done me. Can I press R? Oop, that's the best way to do this. All right. Oh yeah, that has a bit of everything. Let's do that one. Okay, can I lock that in there for a second? And now we can have a look see. So I have a little bit of yellow to start with. So the yellow is going to be half tile climb, and that's going to have a yellow penalty of, well, we're doing an incline, but it's not a straight piece of track, so it doesn't have any curve penalty as well. But then we hit this section here, which is a curve, and it's also orange. So we're going to have the 40 kilometer per second speed penalty because it's a orange curve. It's also a, well, incline. So we're going to have a second penalty on top of that. And that's going to continue all the way through to here where we get another yellow one, which is actually a straight piece of track. So then we only have the penalty from the climb, but not from the angle. And then we hit a yellow turn as well, which is going to have the yellow turn penalty. So we're going to have a max speed of 60, which might not matter if we've already climbed up this hill. Can I come back? Yeah, come back. I wanted that shape. I turned off that. Yeah, somewhere. No, that'll do. Okay, somewhere there. And now it's all built, so we can't see the angles. But as we saw, this corner here was the yellow one. So if we're coming down, then I'd have a 60 kilometer per second speed penalty. And then as I'm coming all the way down the curve, I would have a max speed of 40 going down, which could be fine if the train's going down. If I'm going up, we have our max speed of 40. We're climbing anyway, so we're probably not going to go any faster than 40 as it is. And then when we finally get to the top, we could accelerate through this section at 60, but the tower's probably still somewhere on the curve, so we're probably not going to accelerate terribly fast. Last one I want to mention is normally when it comes to starting a piece of track, I have a habit of clicking and going forward 2 tiles because it just seems to be the easiest. And then from there, I can drag off where I want to be. If that does not suit you there and then, what you can do is we'll start from scratch, bring out a piece of track, and press the R button. No, wrong button. R button. R button to, well, have our angle to start with, and then we can pick our destination angle or our starting angle, whichever it happens to be, and just accept that the end piece of track where we first clicked happens to just spin around every which way. It just gives you a little bit more flexibility, I guess, when you happen to be building tracks to start with. If I have a bit of track here, and can I make sure you go in that direction? And then we start from here, and I want to join to that. I could attempt to join to that directly, or I could press the R button so I have the right angle to duck through, I don't know, parts of the factory or whatever else, and then I can try and connect in here. And I can always hold control to flip the whole section that I've already built. In saying that, if I had already built that section and then I want to come from here and into this and I hold control, it starts to be a little bit confused about which way it's trying to go because realistically and I do this an awful lot, I build tracks in both directions at the same time. Even though the main line might be going to the right and this is joining into the main line and should be doing it, you know, facing the opposite direction, I have a habit of building tracks in both from my source to my destination and from my destination to my source at the same time, just to sort of avoid as many problems as I can. So one thing I have a habit of doing is setting the track that I'm building from the source or the destination, whatever it happens to be, to bi-directional, and that just makes my life a whole lot easier when it comes to linking into, well, my destination train track, and then all I need to do is later on change the direction to be the right direction, and away we go. But this is going to be covering our train track building, some of the advanced tools, and also some of the penalties. We have a follow-up video coming up, which is going to go into train consists and the different penalties and bonuses that trains also have that you probably should want to know about if you want to get heavily into trains in Capital Industry. But for right now, I'm going to leave this video here. I'm going to thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, hit subscribe if you want to find more tutorials about trains and other things in Capital Industry update number 3. We'll get to space, we'll get to asteroids, we'll get a lot of things to cover. But for right now, we're going to be working on trains. With all that said and done, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed. I'll see you in the very next video. All right, bye.